I hope they do something new. I hope they stand up for their communities. I hope that they never let what the world says about them cloud what they feel about themselves.
Adia, finally we're sitting down for the Tenacious Teacher Podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is a long time coming. So this episode is all about the magic that a Tenacious Teacher creates, right? The synergy of that between art and exploration of self and Black history, because it's February. It's Black History Month. And just an editorial note about Black History Month. We really do appreciate that the nation takes a month to focus on Black history, but we know it's Black history 365 days.
365
hours. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I vaguely remember my experience at elementary school at the art. I had some cardboard, I had some markers, maybe a little glue, some clay, but clearly my teacher was not called an Atelierista. Right. So tell me, what in the world does that mean?
So I have the coolest job in all of the world. I'm an art teacher in a lot of ways, but I like to consider myself more of a language teacher, and we delve in the language of materials, right? So we do a lot of process art, we do a lot of thinking routines, a lot of exploration, less we're gonna paint a sunflower, more how can we move this paint to do whatever we want it to do at any given moment? So I work in tandem with the teachers, but once the kids get really good at a language, then when they go into their classrooms and they're doing projects, they can say, oh, I know I want to use wire because I've already explored wire, right? So I know that if I'm making a snake, maybe instead of Play-Doh, maybe wire is what I want to use because I can move it how I want to move it. So we do all of that sort of language building in the art studio or the atelier.
So let's take a step back. But this isn't your average art teacher, So what's the difference between what you do and what, let's say, a kid is accustomed to doing in that hour or so that's devoted to art? And then let us know, how did you become this?
In a more traditional art class, you would maybe be making a turkey, like a hand-prayed turkey.
Right.
I
remember these.
Now, if you, especially in pre-K, right? You're making a more we're going to put our hand in paint, we're going to stick it, we're going to turn
this paper plate.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Right. But in the atelier, if we were going to study turkeys, then we would think about what makes a good feather, right? And what makes a turkey a turkey? Why isn't a chicken a turkey? We would start thinking about why humans are turkeys and what makes us different. And then what materials we could use to make a feather and what materials we could use to make whatever this gobble gobble thing is on a turkey, right? So we do a lot of close looking. I think what I'm able to do that other art teachers aren't is that I have the time, right? To be fair, they don't have the same amount of time that I have. I don't take all the kids at once. I take half a class at once. And part of that is so we have the time to really think and wonder about what it is we want to make. Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Yes.
Okay. So first you said an atelier.
Yes.
What is that?
Okay.
For those who are not familiar. And then secondly, did you always want this job? What was your journey to being an atelierista?
An atelier is a workshop. Basically, it's a French word for workshop. And it's a workshop for artisans. You see it a lot in fashion. But what we do in there is really just a workshop for the kids, just a workshop for materials.
Only for pre-K kids. Yeah. So that's ages 3 and 4.
Yep.
Okay. And so how did you land this job? What's your journey?
My journey. I was a Reggio classroom teacher before friendship took over the school that I was at. And when we came here, all of us didn't get to come. And our old director said, I want you to be the Atelierista. And I said, why? why do you want that? And she said, I watch what you do every day, and you were made for this job. She said, you are a wonderful teacher, but in creating wonder and spaces where children can really, really, really explore and be free, she was like, you're the only person I know that can do it. And it's been years of me trying new things, years of trying to find the balance of what works for me. Because at the end of the day, like, I have to also feel safe. And so what works for me and what I'm willing to like let them do and what they're willing to let me do. And so the kids and I have been working on this balance since I started here.
So I'm really intrigued, but you said the balance, right? So I have to be comfortable with the amount of freedom that I give the kids, and then it has to work for me and work for them. What does that mean?
So this is a question that we grapple with. And I think part of the Reggio Emilia philosophy is that the biggest part of it is that we believe that children are capable. They innately come in with everything they need. And so I'm not pouring into them. They already have it. I'm just guiding them so they can bring out what's best in themselves, but I'm not giving them anything that they don't already have. And so because of that, I had to really think about, if a child says to me, Miss Adia, I want to draw on the table, I want to sit on the table and draw, I can either say no, or I can say, yes, we can do this with parameters, but I have to think about how much is my thought about school, how much is my thought about what an art studio looks like, and how much is really me honoring the fact that they are capable. And if I believe that they're capable, then I have to act that way, even if there's tension with what I know, right, and what I feel. And that has been a really tricky place to navigate, but it's been the best place to navigate. And I think it's made me so much better. And it's made our time together so much better, because I let them, like, if they can safely do it, then we do it.
So that's a tricky space, you know, especially in public schools. This sounds like it's structure, but it's driven by, you know, creativity and freedom, and just really kind of going where the child is leading you. Is that accurate?
Yes. So there are definitely rules. I think there is a sort of misconception that it's just a free-for-all, but we can't do this work if we don't have some sort of parameters, right? So my rules are we're kind to each other. We don't give up on ourselves. We encourage each other. We're kind to materials, and we embrace our mistakes, right? And those rules look different in how they show up. But if we don't have those rules, then it's just chaos. And so it's not a chaos sort of thing. It may look like chaos sometimes. It's a very controlled chaos.
Interesting, because there's this kind of stream of thought. Are you playing or are you learning, right? And so, you know, if you just kind of look at the stage or the kind of the environment that public education is in right now, there's just hyper focus on student outcomes and academic expectations. And so, you know, students and schools are really graded by how well they're doing on these assessments. Now, I know pre-K4, pre-K3, you know, they're excluded from standardized testing. However, kind of this emphasis is kind of trickled down in some places to these kind of, you know, fundamental grade. What are some of those, I would say, kind of embedded structures, kind of the science of the Reggio Emilia philosophy that are embedded in what you and your kids are doing every day? How is what you're doing in that art studio preparing them for kindergarten, for first grade, for second grade?
I think in the art studio and in our Reggio inspired classrooms, one of the things that we are teaching our kids to be researchers. And we do that through allowing them to make their own mistakes and figure out why something works, how something works. We're taking things apart. We're testing hypotheses all the time. We were making planets once, and someone wanted to make Neptune, and they said, Neptune is blue. This idea, I want to make it out of blue M&Ms. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be weird and messy, but
they can choose their material.
They can choose their material. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do blue M&Ms. They got a hot glue gun. M&Ms are melting everywhere.
Oh my God.
Everywhere. There's just chocolate.
No one's trying to eat the M&Ms.
No one's trying to. No, they're not trying
to.
They're gluing the things down, right? But because it's chocolate, it's melting.
Right.
And I knew it was going to melt. I knew it wasn't going to stay, but I let him figure out like why that wasn't going to work. And so he looks at me and he says, this isn't working. I think the chocolate is too soft for this to work. I need a different material, right? And so we allow the kids the space we set up spaces so that they can critically decide what works for them and what doesn't. And I think those are the kind of skills that you'll do better on a standardized test if you can critically think, right? Like you can do better in the world if you can weigh your options, even if you make a choice that even after you weigh your options isn't great, at least we know you thought about it first. At least we know you had like some deep deciding going on there. And so I hope that's the best thing that we do for them. I hope that we leave them with this love of learning and that we leave them with this knowledge that like they are researchers, they are thinkers, they are doers, they're makers. And yeah.
Okay, so can we get into some magic? Yes. So that's okay. So we got to get into the magic, right? The magic that, frankly, is you and this studio. So one of the reasons why I just had to have you come on this podcast, I was at Friendship Public Charter School, Friendship Armstrong campus. You had on fairy wings. You had on a crown that was adorned with flora and fauna. I was my, 4-year-old, 5-year-old self. Okay, so tell me, why did you choose to be a fairy? How did all that come about? And how is that connected to the learning process?
So that came because the children were looking for treasures. And I needed them to understand that treasures are a lot of different things, right? It's not just something that you bought or something that someone gave you. Like, treasures are hidden things. They're secret things. They're things that, I'm like looking on the floor now, looking for treasures because I'm always looking for treasures. But one of the kids said something about a fairy, and I came in the next day. I decided, I ordered all this stuff from Amazon, and I decorated the ceiling, and I had flowers hanging, and I got wings. The lights are out. There's flora hanging. Mm-hmm. There's twinkle lights on. Mm-hmm. There's sparkly music in the background. I have 2 different screens projecting imagery of forests, and there's a note on the wall. And in my best handwriting, my best fairy handwriting, and it said, my best fairy handwriting, and it said, "Dear children, I met Miss Adia, and I'm a fairy, and she told me you were looking for treasure. And I wanted to tell you guys how to find the best treasure, because fairies are obviously really good at finding treasure." And so that's what the note said. It said, "Look for the things that other people overlook."
I love that. Because there's treasure everywhere. Right. And there's treasure in the small things, the everyday things.
That's where the best treasures are, right? It's the stuff that's hiding in plain sight.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. And so then I walked around with wings on, looking for treasure with the children. Found bottle caps. We found the ends of that broken pencils.
And what did they say they were?
Oh, we kept them. So we have collections in my space, that they're every time they find something, and they're we're making this collection. We each have our own collection of treasures. And they're just really pointing out things that that they think are amazing.
So, but what, in your mind, what does all this mean? There's a curiosity part to it, right?
There's a curiosity.
There's this idea that, you should be curious, you should be explorers, right? But then is there a process that you're trying to impart? Maybe I'm thinking about it too.
I think that's fair. I think what I want them to do is I want them to never overlook anything. Right? I don't want them to overlook anyone or anything, right? And just because things don't fit into the way that we're taught they should fit into doesn't mean that they don't have value, right? And I need them to understand that. So maybe it's a broken pencil to me, but to someone maybe it's the antenna on a dog that they make, or an alien dog, or I don't know, whatever it is. It could be a phone, it could be anything, right? Okay. It could turn into, I don't even know, hopefully something that doesn't even exist yet. Because I also want them to understand that everything that we know, someone had to figure it out, right? And everything that we see around us, it wasn't always there. Someone made it. And so I want them to be innovators. And I think that's also part of what this like uncovering is. Like we're uncovering these parts of ourselves, but nothing gets overlooked. Everything has value.
So speaking of uncovering things and finding these hidden gems about ourselves, you work in a really incredible space that's rooted in Black history. So I was really just excited to find out, did not know that one of the world's revered artists, Alma Thomas, walked the halls of your school and really discovered her early love for art. In fact, I had a piece with the Washington Post. In her words, she said when she walked into the Armstrong school and walked into that art studio, she said it felt like heaven. How does working in this historic space inspire you? And then how do you help your students reflect on just kind of the meaning of Black art and the impact of Black art?
I try my hardest to really, I think there's who we all know, right? There's the people we all know. There's the artists we all know. And I think there are elements of our history that we don't know as much about, or the narrative around them is very much not what they were about. Mm-hmm. And I think the Black Panther Party for self-defense is one of those pieces of our history that is like that. So we were eating we were eating breakfast, and I told them, I said, did you know that we get breakfast for free every day thanks to the Black Panther Party for self-defense? They were feeding children in Oakland. They were giving them lunch. They were giving them groceries. They were setting up health clinics and all of those things that we have now. So breakfast in school, right? That came from them. WIC, that came from them. That came from initiatives that they had started. But I needed the kids to know that, like, we take care of ourselves. Like, we take care of our community. We keep us safe. We keep us healthy. We keep us committed. And we have to do that in the face of the world.
Did you amplify those words with images? Or if you're sitting around having breakfast, describe your classroom. I know there's stools, and you guys are sitting on the stools and you're having breakfast, and we're talking about, then you're making the connection between something as simple and routine as kind of a morning bite to this really influential and transformative chapter in American history. So how did that did it take a visual?
It did. So in the classroom that I was in that morning, eating with them, we set up dramatic play to be a free health clinic, right? We showed them pictures, we showed them imagery of the Black Panther Party. There's always like a grounding in the imagery, if we can find it, of the time. Nothing is like just made up off of our heads. Like, so we show them the historical images, and we did like I see, I think, I wonder, and they talked about what they saw, what they thought was happening. The other kids who were helping them like had like black berets on, right? Like they looked like the Black Panther Party. It was really a wonderful, wonderful time.
So you've got two pieces of work by your students right behind you over your shoulder. And I'm thinking about, I see, I think, I wonder. Can you talk a little bit about the art pieces behind you?
The one with the hair over here, the big black cloud of lovely, that was definitely I see, I think, I wonder. And we were looking at the work of Lorna Simpson. And she has these really great collages where she cuts out, she uses like imagery from like old Jet magazines and stuff, and she cuts out the faces, and then she watercolors the hair. You can go look her up, it's stunning. She did Rihanna for Essence, amazing. Mm-hmm. And so that was what we were thinking about, because the hair is like watercolored, right? So it's giving watery, it's giving ethereal. Yeah, it's all of it.
It's giving magnetic.
And so this picture of the hair is after doing the I See, I Think, I Wonder of Lorna Simpson.
And so is she saying, who is she channeling?
So she was telling me that her hair had all of this power, right? And this is her hair.
Power,
right? This is her magical hair.
Right.
With its power. And the viewer has to figure some things out for themselves.
I can't give it all up to you. You have to ensure. I think I see. I won.
Yes,
I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. So
and the other one was more of a process art.
Okay.
So there was
what is process art?
So process art is really just we make things not to have a finished product. We make things to explore. And so the kids know that a lot of times what we do at the end of a class, you're not going to keep, right? We're going to make it. We're going to make it until we push the material to
become something.
Till it becomes something, and then it becomes something we don't want, right? So there's like this like really sweet spot in the middle where I'm like, do you want to stop? And they're like, no. Mm-hmm. And then it just turns into like a puddle of something. Sometimes you get this behind me. Sometimes you get a puddle, but all of it teaches us something, right? So this kid, I'm pretty sure learned, right, that like when you use the brush a certain way and there's not enough paint on it, you can see like where the strokes are very like, some of them are really thin, some of them are thicker. And that was really the whole experience. And that's all we needed from that experience. Sometimes we just learn things just to learn them, not to keep them.
Adia, I love the fact that in your studio, learning is magic. Learning is freedom. Learning is affirmation of self. So tell me, you're in this business because you love kids and you're creative at heart. What are your hopes for your students?
I really hope that they change the world, and not in the way that like I hope they do something new that's never existed yet. I hope they stand up for their communities. I hope they stay rooted in their communities no matter where they go. I hope that they stay thinkers and readers and doers and makers. I really, really, really hope they stay makers. Oh, I hope they keep making things for the joy of making things. It makes me very sad when kids tell me that they can't do a thing. And I hope that they never let what the world says about them cloud what they feel about themselves.
Listen, thank you so much for being tenacious. Thank you so much for being incredible. Thank you so much for being magic personified. We need more teachers like you in classrooms across this country. Keep changing what education looks like. Keep inspiring our babies. Thank you.
Thank you for having me up.